The latest business headlines now with Stephen Carroll. Stephen, you're going to be starting us off in Frankfurt. The European Central Bank, some tough decisions being made there later on today.
Yeah, that's right. Mario Draghi is going to have to decide what he's going to do about the spectre of falling prices in Europe. Deflation is a concern for economies because when prices are falling, consumers tend to spend less because they're waiting for the prices to fall further. Now, it's a real risk to the recovery in the Eurozone, and the ECB is expected to do something about this. One specific warning that we've had on this issue came from the International Monetary Fund on Wednesday. Christine Lagarde called on the ECB to take action to tackle the spectre of deflation that's hanging over the Eurozone.
The policies are the same. No variation, no change, no innovation, no breakthrough. We will be in that sort of low, medium-term growth, which could turn into a trap, as I've mentioned.
Well, staying in Europe, we're going to look to Germany next. Stephen, the Cabinet has approved a law bringing in the minimum wage.
Yes, €8.50 an hour will be the minimum wage that will apply to all industries from next year. That's if it's passed by the Bundestag, as it's expected to be in July. It was a key part of Angela Merkel's programme for government with her coalition partners, but there are still fears that it may drive up Germany's cost of labour, which is one of its key economic tenets. William Hildebrandt has the story.
A dramatic policy change in Europe's biggest economy. The German cabinet approved the country's first ever minimum wage at €8.50 per hour. Officials expect it to affect nearly 4 million people when it goes into force next year.
My husband and I work. We have 3 kids. I don't think the minimum wage would be enough to get by.
Though some workers who weren't represented by powerful unions call the change a blessing. Hairdressers at this Berlin salon currently make a maximum €7 an hour.
Yes. For everyone who's like me and gets less than $8.50 an hour, we're happy. It's a small victory.
But some businesses are concerned. This asparagus producer counts on cheap labor to keep costs down.
With this new expense, we're worried we'll no longer be able to operate with a profit.
The overwhelming majority of Germans are in favor of the change, and they're not alone. Germany was one of just 7 countries in the 28-member EU without a minimum wage. And at nearly €1,300 a month, it would place Germany above the UK, but behind neighbours Belgium and France. But critics say the cost is too high. 10% of companies have threatened to make job cuts, and some worry businesses could leave Germany, seeking cheap labour elsewhere.
OK, so some good news for some workers in Germany there. Stephen, what's happening on the markets?
Well, on the Asian markets, they had taken a positive lead from Wall Street overnight after the S&P 500 there hit a new record high. That's continuing only on some markets, though, as the day progresses. The Nikkei in Japan up over 1% as the falling value of the yen is helping shares there. Now, the Chinese government announced that it was going to borrow up to $25 billion to pump into new railway construction. It was part of a stimulus program aimed at shoring things up on the Chinese economy. That hasn't helped shares, though. The price in Shanghai down 0.7%.
OK, we're going to take a look through some companies news now. Stephen starts off with a lovely giveaway from Microsoft.
Yeah, the company is making its Windows software free of charge for smartphones. It's a change of course for the software giant as its mobile operating system is losing ground to major players Apple and Google. The move isn't likely to cost the company much, though, as it's in the process of buying Nokia, which makes around 80% of phones that use the Windows mobile system. The mobile phone operator Vodafone is to create 1,400 jobs in the UK. It's to open 150 new stores in an investment worth more than $160 million. Vodafone is increasing spending by 50% this year in the UK, where it's the country's 3rd largest mobile network. And Germany's competition authority has fined a group of brewers more than €230 million for fixing the price of beer. The ruling affects 6 companies, including the German arm of Danish brewer Carlsberg. It's the second round of punishments in this investigation after the Federal Cartel Office imposed more than €100 million in fines against 5 other companies in January.
All right, well, finally now, we have been talking quite a lot over recent weeks about sanctions against individuals in Russia in the wake of everything that's been happening in Crimea. Stephen, there's quite an unexpected effect, though, of those sanctions for music fans in Finland specifically.
Yes, so 27 Russian businessmen and officials, as you said, affected by those sanctions, asset freezes, visa bans, things like that imposed by the United States. One of them is a man called Gennady Timchenko, who owns 50% of the Heart Wall Arena in Helsinki. Now, this is where it gets a bit complicated because the two concerts scheduled there by the US promoter are Miley Cyrus, you can see there, and Justin Timberlake. Now, those concerts could be under threat because the Financial Times says if the wording of the sanctions is followed to the letter, in fact, the Live Nation, the US promoter, won't be able to do business with that Russian businessman and they won't be able to pay him if the money hasn't already changed hands. Now, it's unclear at what stage of payment that process is at, but could come as a bit of a wrecking ball for Miley Cyrus fans.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Stephen Carroll, with the business news and the Miley Cyrus news here on Live from Paris. We're going to turn our attention now to things going on the web, including a cunning use of technology to help you find the best spot to take a nap. But first, find out how Turkish web users are responding after the energy minister blamed an election night power cut on a cat.
With the Turkish opposition contesting the local election results in Istanbul and Ankara, won by the party of Prime Minister Erdogan, the AKP, thousands of web users have been having a field day poking fun at the energy minister, Taner Yildiz. Power outages in the capital on election night caused some polling stations to count by candlelight. But he has found the culprit, a cat. On Tuesday, he announced a cat had walked into a transformer unit, and that's why there were power cuts. His astonishing explanation has been met with mirth on social networks, where government critics have since been posting under the Kedi Lobisi hashtag, which translates as cat lobby. They're posting all sorts of sarcastic comments accusing cats of trying to destabilise Turkey, and posting wacky photo montages depicting the kitties caught in the act as they try to sabotage power lines or as they celebrate their intervention on Sunday, which helped bring the AKP to victory. It's certainly one way to challenge the AKP's victory in Sunday's local elections, but supporters of Prime Minister Erdogan's government are less than impressed, saying the opposition is trying to blame its electoral defeat on the power cuts during vote counting. Many have shared similar sentiments online and urged the opposition to accept last weekend's election results. Since Monday, web users accessing online dating site OkCupid via the Firefox browser have been met with a message, "We would prefer our users not use Mozilla software to access OkCupid." It's in response to the appointment of Brendan Eich to CEO of Mozilla on March 24th, and his opposition to gay marriage in California in 2008. The call to boycott has been widely shared on Twitter under the Firefox boycott hashtag, where web users say they've uninstalled Firefox and replaced it with different software. They're saying they refuse to use a browser from a company where the boss is an opponent for equal rights for gay couples. The issues also raised lively debate within the firm. Several Mozilla employees have in fact taken to Twitter to protest Brendan Eich's appointment to CEO, even calling for his resignation, saying his opinions go against the company's values. The man himself has responded to the controversy via his blog, saying he will strive for equality in the workplace. The new CEO also promises to continue the implementation of anti-discrimination measures within Mozilla. The company wants to make its position very clear and released a statement on Saturday reaffirming this policy, saying Mozilla supports LGBT rights and equality, including same-sex marriage. Web users have been posting under the Free Oscar Lopez hashtag, urging the US to release Oscar Lopez Rivera, a 70-year-old Puerto Rican independence activist detained by the American authorities for the past 32 years for his alleged involvement in a series of crimes and attacks in the 1970s. Although many say there is no valid evidence connecting him to them, his supporters are asking President Barack Obama to grant him clemency. Oscar Lopez Rivera is seen by many as a political prisoner. This infographic, available on the Daily Infographic website, says the good news about cancer is that it is preventable in most cases. We learn, for example, that just 2 to 5% of cancers can be passed on through genetics, and 9 out of 10 cancers are linked to environmental and lifestyle factors. The document puts forward some simple ways of reducing the risks of developing cancer: eat healthily, don't smoke, avoid too much sun exposure, and do 30 minutes physical exercise per day. A Dutch creative agency has invented Google Naps. It's a playful parody of the famous Google Maps program and is designed to help you find the best napping locations in the world, including benches, shaded parks, and other such suitable snoozing spots. It's a collaborative map and already includes a host of suggestions across Europe and the United States. Passengers flying from Brisbane to Sydney were in for a treat when members of the Lion King's Australian cast, travelling on the same flight, broke out into song. A fantastic flash mob and wonderful surprise, which you can check out in its entirety on the Disney on Broadway YouTube channel.
And on that happy note, we're going to leave this half hour of Live from Paris, but do stay tuned, plenty more on all our top stories coming up.